Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 30th of January and we will be dealing with three very important topics which are in news. The first is Wetland City Accreditation. Two cities in India, first Udaipur and second is Indore, have got this accreditation which is under the Ramsar Wetland Convention. Prime Minister Modi himself, acknowledged these two cities. Now, this wetland cities accreditation, this program is accrediting cities which are, instrumental in conserving the wetlands which are present in their periphery. Wetland conservation leads to a lot of benefits like water purification, biodiversity enhancement, then availability of clean water for multiple other purposes like agriculture, domestic purposes or industries. So, these two cities in India have been doing this, and these two cities have been the first two cities in India which have been accredited under the Ramsar cities, wetland conventions. Second is India-China relations improving. So, both these countries in 2020, were in a conflict with each other. Galwan Valley was the region in Ladakh where that standoff started. After that standoff, lot of things did happen, like for example, the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra was stopped. Multiple, I would say, mobile phone applications were banned by India. These applications were Chinese-backed applications, like PUBG and all. Trade took a blow, but it was back on track. But yes, now, after the patrolling agreement signed in 2024 between both these countries, things are moving ahead. We are talking about hydrological surveys, we are talking about sharing hydrological data with each other, resuming the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra and increasing the trade also between both these countries. So yes, we can now see the relations improving between India and China. And the third topic is related to the second topic only, Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, a brief description about this Yatra, the geography of that region, because this is a place in news. So yes, it becomes important for UPSC. Then we will be dealing with the MCQs based on these three topics and discussing the answers to the MCQs of yesterday. Now, the first topic, that is Wetland City Accreditation. So two cities in India, one is Udaipur, city of lakes, and Indore. They have been accredited as wetland cities. Udaipur, if I talk about Udaipur, it is surrounded by 5 lakes. And these lakes also conserve many fish species and attract migratory birds. So, Ramsar Conference of Parties in 2015, the COP12 of Ramsar Convention passed the establishment of wetland city accreditation systems globally. Earlier, since 1971, this Ramsar Wetland Convention is there. Wetland sites were being, labeled as Ramsar sites or something like that. But cities started being labeled since 2015. The first batch of wetland cities from China, France and Sri Lanka, among others, was notified in 2018. Second batch of cities from Japan, Morocco, Iraq, Spain and others were declared in 2022. And in this third batch, cities from India, and these are the two cities, that is Udaipur and Indore, have been labeled as wetland cities. Now, what is the Wetland City Accreditation, which was signed in 2015, the 12th Conference of Parties of Ramsar Convention in Uruguay? So, this is a program that recognizes cities for their efforts in managing and protecting wetlands. The urban local bodies of these cities actually do that. Cities that receive this recognition show a commitment to sustainable development and are seen as examples for others to follow. And this recognition lasts for 6 years. Now, since in 2025, these two cities, Ujjain and I would say Indore and Udaipur have got it. So, this will last till 2031. And then in 2031, there will be a review whether this tag should continue with them or not. What is a wetland? Wetland are areas where water is found either permanently or seasonally. These areas are home to many plants and animals. So, the keywords here are permanently or seasonally. Types of wetlands include marshes, swamps and bogs. Wetlands are important because they help with water purification, flood control and biodiversity conservation as well. Flood control, why? Because they act like sponges for the excess water which comes in. Now, wetlands in Indore and Udaipur. which are the wetlands due to which these cities have been labeled as the wetland cities. The Sirpur Lake in Indore, located in Indore, it is a Ramsar site already, meaning it has international importance. It supports a variety of water birds and plays a key role in the city's biodiversity. So let me tell you friends that India has a total of 85 Ramsar wetland sites as of 2025. And out of these 85 wetland sites, this lake in Indore, that is the Sirpur Lake, is one of them. Now, there have been efforts done by the municipality or the local government of Indore in conserving this particular wetland, and that is why this has been labeled as a wetland city. There are plans to develop Sirpur Lake into a bird sanctuary, which will make it an even more important spot for conservation and tourism. Then talking about Udaipur, Udaipur obviously is known as City of Lakes. So there are multiple beautiful lakes including the Pichola Lake, Fateh Sagar, Rang Sagar, Swaroop Sagar and Doodh Talai. These lakes are not only important for the city's heritage but also help in managing water resources and protecting the city from extreme weather events like droughts, heat waves and such like. And these wetlands in Udaipur support local wildlife and are crucial for maintaining climate resilience. Apart from it, a lot of tourism is also I would say attracted due to these lakes. Now, benefits of wetland cities. What are going to be the benefits to these cities when they are labeled as wetland cities? So there are flood control measures which are there. Wetlands absorb excess water, as I told you. Water purification. Wetlands filter out harmful substances from water, improving its quality. Biodiversity support. Wetlands provide habitats for many species, including migratory birds or other wildlife. So this is how it is. India's wetland conservation and Ramsar sites. How are they? So the Ramsar Convention in India, it is basically an international convention which was signed in 1971, and India is a signatory to this, wetland conservation, I would say, treaty which is there, an international treaty. It helps countries to conserve wetlands which are valuable for their role in flood control, water purification and wildlife habitats. So what happens is that every country nominates that from my country this is the wetland which should be labeled as a Ramsar site. Then the Ramsar Convention guys, they assess that whether that wetland should be labeled as a Ramsar site or not. Once labeled, then extra efforts have to be done for conservation of that particular wetland site. This is the scenario over here. India became a signatory in 1982, so India was not a founding member of it. So after 11 years, it became a signatory and has since ever been working to increase the number of Ramsar sites in the country. Presently, there are 85 Ramsar sites, as I mentioned, and India has been steadily adding Ramsar sites with 26 sites between 1982 to 2013 and 59 sites between 2014 to 2025 in the last 11 years. So Tamil Nadu in India has the highest number of Ramsar sites, followed by Uttar Pradesh. So it is not important that, and it is not compulsory that Ramsar sites will be there in the coastal regions or coastal states only. It can be there in non-coastal states also. Wetlands basically having water which can be fresh water also, which can be saline water also. So it is this way we have to see. Now, why wetland conservation is important? The water security. Water is going to be a precious commodity in the times to come because of global warming, increasing population. So yes, definitely wetlands will help us in conserving that. Climate resilience. Definitely these wetlands have a positive impact on the weather phenomenon, and weather is being impacted due to climate change. So less warmer temperatures will be there in those areas where there are more wetlands, because they can increase to the contribution of water vapor in the atmosphere, which can lead to increased rainfall in those areas. This can definitely increase or contribute in enhancing the biodiversity of that region. So that next point is biodiversity. Urban livability definitely will be better because there will be more access to fresh water. Lack of water will not be there. So this is what it is. Next is India-China relations improving. Definitely this is a very good news for India and China both, because both of these countries were at loggerheads with each other since 2020. 2020 happened the Galwan Valley clashes, where China was claiming a territory inside India. 2024, this dispute seems to have been settled and the petroling agreement was signed between both these countries, and now the relations are seeing a rise. Why or how we can say that they are seeing a rise? Because these steps which have been taken recently by the officials of both these countries, like resuming direct flights, issuing visas, increasing exchanges in various sectors, and restarting the Mansarovar Yatra for Indian pilgrims. So Mansarovar Yatra, let me tell you friends, is basically a pilgrimage for the Hindus where they visit the Kailash Mansarovar, which is in China, Tibet region of China. We used to cross the Nathula from Sikkim and used to travel all the way from Tibet and go to that Kailash Mansarovar. We have also built a pass, Lipu Lake Pass in Uttarakhand, so that will shorten our distance to Kailash Mansarovar. Now both countries also agreed to restart talks on shared rivers and sharing of hydrological data. Since China has announced that it will be building the world's largest dam on Yarlung Sangpo, that is Brahmaputra, so we need that. Now these measures definitely are part of this stabilizing efforts between both these countries. Now key agreements and discussions which have been signed: resumption of direct flights and visa issuance will be done. So direct flights, India and China agreed to restart direct flights which had been stopped in 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic and rising tensions at the LAC. They could have started earlier, but these tensions on LAC did not let them start. Visa issuance, these countries will begin issuing visas again, allowing easier travel for business, tourism and study between the two nations. Mansarovar pilgrimage, this Yatra to Mount Kailash and Mansarovar, which had been stopped since 2020, will now be resumed, and it had stopped due to tensions. Now implications: restarting this pilgrimage is an important symbolic and practical step towards improving relations, showing both governments' recognition of its cultural significance. So this is some good news actually, but let's see that how long this partnership, this good partnership goes on, because India and China relationship has been on and off since 1947 if we closely analyze. The trans-border rivers and hydrological data which we have been talking about, so it is the key agreement is the restart of talks on shared rivers, especially concerning the sharing of water data. China had stopped sharing this data, particularly for the Brahmaputra river, known as Yarlung Sangpo, but now China is constructing a dam, and that is going to be the world's largest dam on this. So we need that data because we are downstream, we are the lower riparian state. Expert level mechanism, India-China expert level mechanism will meet to discuss the return of hydrological data and other cooperation related to shared water resources, and the Brahmaputra river concerns about the hydropower projects on it will also be jointly addressed by both these countries. So yes, definitely this is something which had to be there. We cannot stop China from constructing a dam because it is doing it on its territory, but yes, we can make sure that downstream the construction of the dam does not impact negatively. We are not the only country which is downstream. In the case of Brahmaputra, it is Bangladesh also. The bilateral relations and celebratory events. So this year, that is 2025, it marks the 75th year of diplomatic ties. Last year, China and Russia celebrated 75 years of diplomatic ties, where Vladimir Putin visited China. Now this year, India and China are celebrating. So let's see what happens. Both countries plan to celebrate this anniversary with events to strengthen cultural and economic ties. Foreign Minister's remarks: Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi called for an end to mutual distrust and separation, stressing the need for both countries to focus on cooperation instead of conflict. Both sides have pledged to work on stabilizing relations, aiming to find mutual benefits and avoid further disputes. Economic and trade relations. So China is one of our largest trading partner, and unfortunately we have a huge trade deficit with China. China exports way more to us than we export to China, and hence there are multiple disputes and challenges also. Now, despite record level of trade, India and China have imposed restrictions on each other due to political tensions that began after 2020. So, as I told you, there were some of the tensions, or this Galwan Valley clashes was reflected in trade for a while, but yes, it was settled on later. India's restrictions: India put several restrictions on Chinese businesses, such as requiring Home Ministry approval for Chinese investments as security measure, because it was believed that these investments are coming in the knowledge economy of India and taking away data of the Indians. So we imposed or restrictions on it, and we also implemented data localization norms over here, due to which there were problems. China also imposed restrictions. China responded by limiting exports of key materials to India like active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs, high-tech products and equipment for major infrastructure projects like tunnel boring machine and all. Now, trade imbalance. This is another challenge in China-India trade, because this imbalance is huge. As I told you, that China exports way more to India as compared to India exporting to China. Now, the diplomatic engagements. Foreign secretaries visit to India. This is where we have seen so many developments happening. So, Vikram Misri's visit, Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri visited Beijing from January 26-27 for talks with Chinese officials, including Vice Foreign Minister Sun Weidong, Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Liu Jianchao, member of the Chinese Communist Party's Central Committee. This is one of the highest, I would say, bodies in the Communist Party. Resumption of bilateral dialogue. Misri's visit marked the return of regular dialogues between two countries, which were stopped after the 2020 Galwan Valley clashes. Now, India's support for China's SCO chairmanship. This year, SCO's chairman is China and we are supporting it. So, this is how, our relationship is being progressed forward. Future engagements are also expected, like this Modi Z summit. There is a possibility of this. Officials did not comment on whether an informal summit between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping will happen in 2025. But yes, it is expected, especially on the occasion of 75 years of establishing diplomatic ties with each other. SCO summit in June 2025 will be there. Prime Minister Modi is expected to attend this summit in June 2025, which will definitely be very important. And now the last piece of news, that is Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. So this has been resumed. So this is this pass Nathula, which is there in Sikkim, from where we used to go, and this is Mansarovar over here. Now we have constructed another pass over here, which is called as the Lipu Lake Pass. So from here also this yatra is now possible. Now it is open to eligible Indian citizens holding valid Indian passports, and this yatra is organized with the support from state governments, Uttarakhand, Delhi, Sikkim, because Uttarakhand and Sikkim, people are going from there, and Delhi government is also part of it, and they are sending people to visit Kailash. The Ministry of External Affairs does not provide any subsidy or any financial support to the people who are wanting to visit Mount Kailash from here. This should be clear to everyone, like it used to provide for Hajj. It is not providing for this as well. So this is there. Location, it is located in the Kailash range, forms part of the Trans-Himalaya in Tibet. So Trans-Himalaya means beyond Himalayas. This is the Mansarovar lake over here, which you can see, the Rakshas Tal over here, Mansarovar Tal. Then this is that Kailash Mansarovar, Gauri Kund is over here, Mount Kailash is this one, and it is mesmerizing. Lake Mansarovar is a high altitude freshwater lake near Mount Kailash in Tibet, and from this particular lake 4 rivers emerge: Sutlej, Brahmaputra, ya Langsangpo we call it, Indus and Kamali, that is Karnali. So that becomes very, very important. Religious significance of Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. What is the religious significance? Hindus believe Mount Kailash is the abode of Lord Shiva. Mansarovar lake is said to be one of goddess Sati's 51 Shakti Peeth. So it is a Shakti Peeth as well. Tibetans, Buddhists and Jains revere it as stairway to heaven. So it is not only a religious site for the Hindus, but it is for the Tibetans also, Buddhists also and Jains also. Jains hold that the Rishabhanath, the first Tirthankar, Jain's spiritual preacher, found enlightenment at Mount Kailash. And Mount is referred to in Jain literature as Ashtapada, or the 8 steps which can pave the way to enlightenment and spiritual advancements. So what we learned here is that, first of all, geography of Mount Kailash, rivers originating from that Mansarovar lake, which is in the vicinity of Mount Kailash, How to reach there? Two passes, Lipu Lake Pass and Nathula. And most importantly, that it is not only a holy site for Hindus only, but it is for the Tibetans, Buddhists as well as Jains. So this is what we needed to know and understand. Now the MCQs. Which cities in India have been accredited as the wetland cities? Udaipur and Bharatpur, Udaipur and Ujjain, Udaipur and Indore, or none of the above. You have to find the correct option over here. Which state in India has the highest number of Ramsar sites? Gujarat, Odisha, West Bengal, or none of the above? Straightforward question. A pilgrim going for the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra from India to China passes through which pass? Khardungla, Jalepla, Nathula, or Baralachla? Fourth, which of these rivers do not originate from Kailash Mansarovar? Yarlung Sangpo, Indus, Yangtze, or Sutlej? Now yesterday's MCQs. First, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. Blue carbon is the carbon stored in marine ecosystems. Exactly correct. Salt, I would say pans, or I would say salt marshes. We have sea grasses as well as the mangroves. Marine ecosystems can store more carbon than terrestrial ecosystem. This statement is also correct. 3 to 5 times more carbon. Let me be correct. Both 1 and 2 are the correct options over here. Second, how many of these can be the impacts of mangrove ecosystem restoration? If we restore the mangrove ecosystems, what can be the impact? Enhanced tourism, definitely tourism will be improving because more and more people will be coming to see. Increased fish yields, yes, this will also lead to increased fish yields, and achieving net zero target will be easier because carbon sink will increase, and net zero is the carbon you are emitting, the same amount of carbon you should be sinking in. So wetlands have sinking capacity 3 to 5 times more than the terrestrial forest. So definitely achieving this net zero target will be easier. So all of these will be the impacts. Irrawaddy Delta, often seen in news, lies in which country? It is also called as Irrawaddy Delta, and this is in Myanmar. D is going to be the correct option, and unfortunately, more than 50% of this delta has been degraded. The mangroves in this delta has been degraded. At one point of time, there was 1.2 million square kilometers of mangrove forest. Now it is only 500 million square kilometers of mangrove forest left. So that is concerning. Fourth, where was the inaugural summit of non-alignment movement hosted? So there might be confusion between Bandung and Belgrade. Bandung was not the inaugural summit. Bandung, the concept of non-alignment was born, but the Belgrade 1961 was the inaugural summit where, on inaugural summit of NAM where it was hosted. So B is going to be the correct option over here. New Delhi, Accra to nahi. Which of these countries is not a member of East Asia Summit? So East Asia Summit, as I told you, has 18 members. 18 members. How? All the ASEAN countries, 10 ASEAN countries, plus China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, India, USA and Russia. Okay. Now let us see. Australia is part of it. Indonesia is part of ASEAN. So definitely Indonesia is also part of East Asia Summit. India is also part of East Asia Summit. So D option, all of the above are members of East Asia Summit, is the correct option over here. So with this, we have come to an end of today's session, and I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. I am not repeating it today. Namaste. Jai Hind.